go. Welcome back to New to Hill Country. I'm here today with Jason Kilgore of Trident Strength. Before we get into the show and talking with Jason more, I'm just going to give a little shout out to our sponsors. Our first sponsor is LMNT, the electrolyte mix. If you're a fan of the show, you're probably tired of me talking about it already, but exciting new news. We just got, there's 3 new flavors out: chocolate, mango chili, and lemon habanero.
Lemon habanero.
Yeah, so the H is silent. So I struggle with that. So, but yeah, if you haven't tried it yet, you should really give it a whirl. You can pick it up here. We are the exclusive provider for the moment. I'm pretty soon Marty Henderson's going to have that out at Texas Laser Therapy as well. So I can't call myself exclusive, but at this moment while recording, I know he doesn't quite have it yet. But Godspeed to him on that end of it. Beyond that, our other sponsor is, well, us, SPG Texas. If you're looking for a great martial arts training, actually learning how to do it, not teaching yourself how to do it as someone smashes you or something like that, this is the place to come to. We've also got a very robust yoga program, and our kids program is nothing to sniff at.
It's going really well.
The kids very much respond well to Coach Kaylee. They very much want to please her, and at the slightest hint of her displeasure, they're like ready to like make it better. Me, they don't care. Me, they're just like, if I'm like, guys, I'm very disappointed that you weren't listening or something, they're just like,
cool story, bro.
Yeah, cool story, bro. Yeah, basically, when it's like when Gym Mommy like kind of like throws down, it's like you should. Like the silence, it's like the silence that befalls, and like she's like, guys, I need you to work on this. So it's like they're all like, oh my god, Coach Kaylee's upset.
We got a really good program. I'm really excited for everybody. I already seen so much growth from even like
crazy,
younger ones and then older ones. So super. It's
cool.
my day every day.
It's as much about martial arts as it is about learning how to just kind of thrive in a structured environment and
be a better human being.
Be a better human being, total human development. Learning how to lose is a huge part of our program. If it was a catchy tagline, I would call it "Growing Gorillas, There Will Be Tears," because they do cry. We do accept their crying, but we don't necessarily bend over backwards for it either. So they learn. And we've got a lot of kids that started off and it was like losing was like the end of the world.
Our losers too.
Oh boy.
Graceful loser now.
Yeah. Now they're like good. Now they're like, good job to their partner. Like they can accept that. Like they just gotta keep working, and you know that sometimes you lose. It's part of the process. Right?
Winning and learning.
Probably lose more in life than we win in life on some level. I don't know, or maybe that's just how we perceive it. But anyways, enough about that. Let's get into talking with Jason now. So Jason, tell us a little bed about yourself and like kind of how you came to Hill Country. I actually don't remember if you were from this area originally. I know we've talked, you and I know each other already, and we've talked about various parts of your past and things like that. But I don't. Give me the long version. Yeah.
I guess originally I was born in Marshall, Texas.
Okay.
Out in East Texas. Didn't spend a whole lot of time there. Moved to kind of around the Houston area. My great grandfather was one of the first original rice farmers in Katy, Texas. And so, but this could go on forever.
I don't care.
Really what I call home, and that, so I spent some time in Katy when I was a little kid. I went kindergarten there until about 4th grade. But what I call home is Rockport, which is down the coast. Anybody from Texas knows that. It's around the Corpus Christi area.
I see.
And so I went to, my formative years, if you will, were spent there. And from there I graduated high school and then went off into the military. So joined the U.S. Navy, and I was an intelligence analyst. Was fortunate enough to get stationed in Coronado, California. If anybody's ever been stationed there, you know how amazing that place is. Been all over Asia because of the Navy, so that was huge for me. That was, I guess I'd been to Mexico one time right after high school, but the military that's where I got to learn what culture was all about and respect culture, right? I was really interested in going to places like the Mediterranean, you know, Europe and all that. I had no intentions of going to Japan, and I don't know why, just didn't really have a desire to, but when I went there, I was so happy that I got there. So that was huge. That Asian culture was really, like, I guess for a lack of better words, just like wild to me. I thought it was just amazing. I didn't realize, I never considered how beautiful the terrain, people. I've been to Japan, Thailand, Korea, Singapore. Like, that whole area is just, oh my God, it's so perfect. So that was cool. The unit was pretty active, so we were always pretty fit. So that was good too. We were young, so we made a lot of bad decisions, but that's to be expected. And so I came back home after getting out of the military, short stint, and let's see, trying to run through my history. Went back home for a while and ended up linking up with this girl, this amazing human being named Tiffany Gillum at the time, who is now my wife. And we've known each other since we were little kids. Had no desire, just, there was no thing there when I was a kid. For me, just something I wasn't thinking about. For her, I didn't know until later that she had a crush on me, so that's kind of cool. Came home, I was actually on leave for my sister's wedding, and she, at the time, she was a college volleyball player, so she was all grown up. And that's when I was like, oh man. So, but I ended up going back to San Diego and finishing out my military thing. But when I moved home, we had a birthday bash for my brother, and she came down with some of her college friends, and so the rest was history after that. So we've been together since '05, been married since 11, and a couple days ago we celebrated our daughter's first birthday.
Awesome.
So that was this has been an amazing ride with her. But without skipping around too much, how I got here, Tiffany moved down to the coast with me during part of our relationship to finish out nursing school after she got out of her regular university. And the opportunities job-wise for her down in that coastal area is just not the same as it would be in San Antonio, Austin, you know, places like that. The best you got is Corpus Christi. No offense to any Corpus Christi people, but it's Corpus. Like,
it's not your thing.
Yeah, it's a cool place, but there's not a whole lot going on there. So we moved up here to, well, I say up here, Castroville, and that's where her parents are from. And I was finishing out my exercise physiology degree at UTSA in San Antonio. And then when it was time for us to part ways with our families, I had to be by the water, right? So just real quick, grew up on the coast, intelligence school in Virginia Beach, Coronado, California, first duty station. Like, it's just beach, right? Sailing across Asian waters, right? Water. My whole life. When I was 13, I had a job as a deckhand on a fishing boat. I mean, it's just consumed my entire life. And so, knowing that the opportunities at the coast weren't that great, I had to find water. And you guys know by now that this place has plenty of that, right? We've got 2 river systems, a couple lakes, and so we started scouring the whole territory for a home, and we found one, and we still live there in the same house we bought in October of '09. So I could probably count on one hand how many times I have not been in the river on a daily basis.
Wow.
Right?
Big.
So
Yeah, 'cause when we first met, that's kind of, you and I, we had like coffee together or something like that. I don't think I had a drink coffee, but we met up through Rob, and then you invited me out with the river rats, and we went swimming out in the river. And it was probably December, I would guess. Like, and I keep telling people all the time, like, the best time for the Comal is like in the winter. You just get in and swim, and everybody thinks it's going to be so cold, and they're wrong. Like, you know, like the air outside is cold. The water is actually feels good. It's warm. It's like 72 or something.
Like year round.
Yeah, it's so pleasant in the water. I could just stay in like all day, and it's so clear and just I don't know. I don't get out enough now when I'm running the gym and everything. Well, and obviously right now it's all on lockdown and everything, which is anyways. But,
yeah, and there's something about the Comal that's much different, man. Like I've been in so many different river systems, lakes, and ocean water. Well, I mean, it's hard to beat the ocean, right? There's a lot of power in that, right? I mean, I guess there's power in all of it, but the ocean, man, it's so vast, right? And the power in tidal movements and all of that, like it's like you can feel that. If you're looking for it, you can feel that. But there's something about the Comal, man. Like I guess maybe the next closest river that I get that feeling, and I can't even really describe that feeling. It's just this feeling that I get when I get in that water. The next closest would probably be the Frio, you know, the Concan area out there in Uvalde County. I think it's Uvalde County. But the Comal, there's something incredibly special about it. You know, it's a spring-fed river, right? And that's why it stays warm all year long. I mean, I've been out in that river when it's 30 degrees outside and the wind's blowing 20 and, you know, the wind chill's 25. It's just like you want to be in that water, right? Because it's so cold outside.
Yeah, getting out is the rough part.
Yeah, getting out sucks. and you know, for any viewers, like, don't be a renegade. Like, you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. Like, you know, the water's still 72, which feels warm, but that's way lower than our body temperature. Right? So you end up out there a little too long, especially in those types of conditions. Like you could run into some risk. So you know, really know yourself. Speaking of, there's something about the water that really tells you a lot about a person, about yourself, right? Like, this is huge for me. I can go in the water with a group of people, and you can tell almost how somebody lives their life by how they operate in the water.
Really?
It's incredible. It's so incredible. The water, for a lot of people, and I get it, like, on the surface, it's like, well, this guy hadn't been in the water a lot during his life, and it's like, yeah, it shows. It shows in how he walks down the street, right? So, you know, Alex Hernandez is a UFC fighter I trained. He's a real good buddy of mine. He mentioned something a long time ago about, man, there's something about watching somebody or knowing how good somebody is in the water and how that relates to how they perform. There's like maybe a correlation there, possibly. People that are good in the water seem to be able to move a little bit better.
That makes sense.
Right. I guess that's kind of what he was getting at. So, and there's something about that too. You know, you move well, your movement complexity is higher than most, maybe. So I can do more, right? Which requires a more mobile body, right? And a more mobile body usually requires a little bit more mobile brain, mental space. So you see where I'm kind of going with all that.
I see where you're going with that. I remember my initial attraction to water and swimming, because I swam competitively as a child and everything, and what got me into that, I remember that kind of moment of just realizing that kind of 360-degree possibility in the water, and just like, you can go anywhere, you can move anywhere, you know, just in that feeling of being able to move in any direction, and just really, obviously a lot of people on the surface level sort of get that, but there's people who sort of exalt in that, you know, and I was one of those people like yourself where it was just like, this is actually amazing, and I was like in love with the water at a very early age, and it's still something that, I'm still in love with the water.
Dude,
kind
it's
of,
incredible.
You know,
For as long as I can remember, dude, like, and do this next time you guys go out to the river, specifically the Comal, because you can see under the water, right? So find you a spot where, you know, it's safe to dive into. And before you dive in, like, take a look at the world around you, right? Pay attention to the hawk, pay attention to the big cypress trees, take in all those colors, let your senses do what they do best, right? And feel all of that. And when you dive in, don't close your eyes when you're diving in. Keep your eyes open and pay attention to the transition to the new world, if you will. And it's like you have this whole world out here, and then you dive in and your eyes are open, and it's like, oh wow, it's a whole nother world. Now there's fish, there's plants growing out of, I mean, it's just, it's incredible. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, and maybe I'm biased, but like,
no, it sounds amazing.
yeah, like, and it's really like, these are things that people do on a daily basis, man. It's like people are always in that river, but where's their perspective at?
Sure.
What do they actually see when they're there? You know, because there's people out there that float down the river and just get drunk the whole time.
Right.
You know, I mean, and that's one perspective, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that's a perspective. My way is a perspective. You know,
Sure.
the guy that's out there doing nothing but swimming laps, that's another perspective, right? It's all good, right? And maybe in some weird way you should experience all of them at one point in your life. I don't know, like whatever makes sense for you. But there's some power in this water, right? Like it's incredible. And then, you know, talking physiologically, like we're made up of, I mean, what is it? It's incredible.
A lot of it's water.
Yeah, like every cell in our body is made of it. So that's important. But yeah, and so I guess that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
The rivers were a big part in our decision to move here too.
Say again?
The rivers were a big part, big factor in our decision to move here.
I mean, we took a big gamble on that idea. Like, just Rob Wolf had already actually kind of traveled through the area and was like, oh, you gotta see these rivers. And I was sold. It didn't take much. He was like, they're emerald green. It's like, I've never seen fresh water like that. And I'm like, I want to see that. Like, and it was just like, and then we had done specs on the whole thing as well. Like, it was, we were pretty careful.
But there was one day I remember our real estate agent was driving us around like Landa Park and showing us all the kind of Guadalupe River.
Mark Hampton.
Yes.
He's good.
Yes, and that was really for me one of the kind of surreal moments. Like, oh my God, where is this place? Like, it's something else.
I remember that drive through Landa Park.
It was
and
really
just like,
kind of, oh my God,
deer,
the
water, and just like, and people were just moving around. And it's a bit, and we won't go down this rabbit hole too deep, but it's such a stark contrast to right now with the fencing and all that kind of stuff. There's definitely some love lost in at this moment, but you know, whatever, that'll make us appreciate it more when things do open back up. And I have every confidence that we will move in that direction.
For sure. Yeah, nobody wants to keep those. I mean, even the people that have those places closed, and it's not the rivers that are closed; it's the access.
That's true.
But there's always access, right?
Right.
You just be responsible if you're gonna.
Sure.
Right. So, yeah, nobody wants those rivers closed.
Sure.
You know, even the enforcers, they don't want it closed.
Right.
So it'll come back. It will. I will say this: it is amazing right now when you get in there and nobody's in there.
Oh, you tempted me.
It is incredible.
Huh.
Me and my boy Jazz, Phoenix Photography NB, he's a photographer. We got in there a while back by ourselves, and I'm just like, dude, we are literally the only people in this water right now, and it's just incredible, man. Like, it's just so good. And there's something about, you know, I keep saying this. There's something about the Kumau, like, and this might be true for all the water in the world. Like, talking a little bit about, like, philosophically speaking, I guess. So this idea that I can get in a swimming pool and get a good workout in, right? Sure, cool, you can do that. But there's something about open bodies of water, specifically rivers, right? You've heard that, it's almost cliche to say it, but you've heard the phrase, like, you're never in the same river twice, right? I mean, literally, while you're in the river, every moment that passes by, you're in a different river, right? You're never going to touch the same water twice. And so I feel like, I know for me and for my squad of dudes that we hang out together, these places are more than just places to exercise. Like, we go there to heal ourselves. You know, you have a stressful day, like, you don't even have to take one stroke of a swim, just be in it, right? And it's like, I'm finding that there are a lot of people that do that. Like, they might not refer to it like that, but that's why you're there. I mean, what do? You go on vacation, right? To get in the water. Why are you doing this? Because you're trying to escape, you know, the 9 to 5 that's been bogging you down, right? So my philosophy on this is, you know, I'm not saying swimming pools are bad, but if we're all dropping baggage off in the water, I don't want to be swimming in someone else's baggage. Right?
I understand. Yeah.
So when I go to the river, man, it just gets washed away. That gets washed all the way down to the sea, and Mother Earth just takes it all in. And so we go down there, we drop some things off, and then just the same, we take a little from it, right? That's how we fill our cup, right? And when you live in a place like this, I mean, here I am. I'm going to promote the heck out of this place. Like, when you live in a place like this, you literally have vacation at your doorstep. It's right there.
I agree.
Right? So it's like, dude, take advantage. I mean, there are people here right now that need to. Right? There are people that I've taken out on paddle boards on that river that have lived here their whole lives, and they're looking around going, dude, I've never seen this. I'm like, bro, it's been here your whole life. Like, that's the first thing that I did when I moved here was I'm going exploring. I gotta figure all this out. So, you know, I urge anybody who's listening to this to, man, if you live in this area, like, take advantage of that.
That's a good point.
Take advantage of it, you know?
Yeah, we always feel that way, like we're busy, like here all day, like all week, and then on Sunday we're like kind of torn, like should we just take it easy, stay home, or should we just go out to the river? Then every single time we go out to the river, it's like, oh my god, this is why we're here. We never really get to enjoy it during the weekdays. Like, so that's really refreshing. I think I should get going to pick up my kids, but I would just love to hear about your philosophy. I think that's kind of
for sure.
too.
We'll talk
So
again.
yeah, we'll talk again. I'll catch up with the recording too.
Kiss
But
goodnight,
cool.
please.
yeah.
No one will believe that you're actually married to me.
Thanks for coming, you too.
Yeah.
No one can believe I'm married to that woman. I'm always trying to prove it in public. She won't let me prove it.
She's like, no, they just got to take your word for it.
Yeah, but yeah. You know, I know all what you're talking about because I've been there, done that with you, and it was awesome. Those are some of my first kind of really, you really helped me kind of at a time before we had the gym open. That was a stressful time, basically. No other way to dice it. And I'm the yoga guy and all that kind of stuff too, and that's all real. But the other side of that, as I'm always kind of talking about, is like, you know, there is no point where you become immune to things and stuff like that. And just like, and actually often the more you think that, the more that's just kind of like ego getting in your way. Where like, I've been meditating every day, twice a day for 22 years. So sometimes it's my ego that gets in the way. I'm like, I'm not gonna, I'll start to get like that flutter, that stress flutter about something. I'm like, but not me though. I'm like, not me, because I'm the yoga guy. I'm a meditation Mike, okay? That can't be true. And then you start sometimes even questioning yourself, am I doing this right, or am I right? And like, but it's just kind of like everybody needs that. You have to get out of that headspace, and there's just so many different ways to do it. Water's one, you know, like, and I needed that at that moment. Like, I met up with you guys, and we were just like hanging out. And I'm like, these dudes are just running in the park, and then we're just jumping in the water, and we were going down that, what do you call it, that
tube chute.
The tube chute, yeah. And that was fun too. I can't do that. I don't know. It gets to me just a little bit. I'm just like, I'm gonna stub a toe on this, and it's gonna just be like, I can't do what I need to do or something. But I like it. It's fun, and yeah, that was just. After that, even though there were times where I couldn't meet up with you guys, I was, especially before I opened the gym, I think I was in the coma, like pretty much any chance I could get. Like, I would find excuses. Like, now that she's gone, she probably won't go back and listen to this anyways. But I would be like, I would make an excuse like, oh, I need to go to the library and like drop off the books. And it's like, and you know, the river is just kind of on the way. So I'm just going to dip in to get my workout in. And usually if I say workout, Kaylee's, if it was just about anything else, and this has been our whole marriage and relationship, about anything else, if I said like, I'm going to stop over and have a drink with Jason, she'd be like, come on, just come home or whatever. If I was like, I'm going to stop by and work out with Jason, or I'm going to, if it's any kind of exercise thing, she's usually been like, okay, like go ahead, like, you know, stay healthy and stuff. Even though, and I'm talking about her, it's so weird in her absence, but before we opened this gym, Kaylee in my entire time of knowing her, probably worked out, like I could probably sit down and chart that, how many times that had really happened. She was just always work, but she always respected me doing the exercise. And now she's actually like doing the jujitsu, and it hasn't taken her that long to get very good. And she picks up on stuff. She probably finds me to be a bit of a jerk the way that I teach sometimes, but like it's always harder to take instruction from your spouse. But but no, like even just today, I was so impressed as I was like positional sparring with her, just the opportunity she was taking on things. Like, I was like, oh, like wow, like and you're like, I think John Frankel's got a good expression. Like I did let her in. Like we talk about this with our students when you're teaching jujitsu. Like, for me to train with new people and still get something out of it, I have to let you in, so to speak. I've got to let you into positions that I would never, if I was playing my real game, I'd probably never let you in. Sure. I'd never let you in the gate, kind of. But like, I let you in the gate, but it's like, I also don't let you out. You know what I mean? Like, and she's getting out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm letting them in and they're getting out on their own. They're actually finishing it. And it's like, and I think for a lot of them, it's like, God, they figure I'm just giving it to them. And it's like, no, the jiu-jitsu was just solid all the way through. Like, and that's a lot of what I do with guys is just, because I'm a purple belt, it's like, how do I keep my training fresh? Well, I let people in, basically. If I just I've had coaches that I trained with that would just shut people down from the get-go. Right. And that's how one coach in particular comes to mind. That's how he was every single time. When I went to spar with him, positional, whatever, it's just like, I'm not going to let you set up anything. I'm just going to go my A game from the start. Right. Like there's no advantage except maybe that I'm on my butt. Like that's the maximum advantage I'm giving you here. And it's a style. I'm sure he doesn't get injured much. That's, I think, what motivates people to train that way. But the other side of it is it's hard to get a whole lot better if you're not like...
You're not really testing yourself.
Yeah, you're not testing yourself. I think my average student is 200 pounds plus. I'm about 175. I'm letting these guys in on mount. I'm letting them in some pretty hairy positions, and it's a lot. Have that extra weight makes a big difference. You give up about 50 pounds, and now you got to work. He's already got a hand around my neck. He's already on top of me. That's one of the things I learned from my coach John. He's like, that's jujitsu too. Right. Like it's me getting out of these hard positions and stuff. But
and that guy I was speaking to you earlier in the lobby about, Gustavo Carpio. Yeah. That's what I learned when I was rolling with him. He's a black belt. At the time, number 40 in the world or something. Wow. Like he's a stud, man. The guy's a stud and super, super incredibly nice guy. And when you roll with this guy, he would always let you, not I would say always, but a lot of times he would let you like create this little rabbit hole, and he'd almost like entice you into that rabbit hole to see. And it was, I don't know if this was his intentions, but it felt like it was, how far can I let this guy who he could otherwise just crush? How far can I let him in, and then me still get out? Right. Like I remember feeling that way a lot of times. And it was cool because, like I remember when I would roll with people, and like I've never progressed past the white belt, but I always say I keep my white belt. I do just enough to keep my white belt on. But I remember even rolling with like newer guys and starting to adopt that. And it's, dude, like, that's a good way.
It teaches you a lot about relaxing within the roll and everything too. Is like a lot of times by being and tension is never what you want, but like it's relaxing even more, giving even more than you think you can give, and seeing how like actually there's still tons of room to play. Just keeping that relaxation in there that whole time where you're just smooth and flowing and you're breathing and everything, and like you see opportunities. It's the thing with jiu-jitsu is it's always easier than you think. It's you're always making it harder than it is typically, but like it's a great thing. But that's all my thing. Let's talk a little bit more about you with Trident Strength and what's going on with that.
So I've been professionally training people as a career for like 15 years now, and I'm now one of the co-owners of Sport Halle, which is a New Braunfels CrossFit. It's for those people here in New Braunfels, it's on Walnut Street. It's right behind Dos Rios in that little Town Creek community. It's about a 5,000
It's
square
really
feet.
growing up now. They got those buildings in the front now. They
Yes.
weren't even there when I came in. Those are big buildings.
That
like,
place is blowing up, man. It's really cool to see. We got a bunch of different programs there. We got a CrossFit program. We got a program called Daily Grind, which is, you could call it CrossFit-esque without the barbells, right? For the boot camper crowd. And that program is, man, Haley Jane. Haley is my business partner.
About her,
She's a monster, dude. Like she's a grinder. She's grown that thing tremendously, man. Like we've got 2 classes that run twice a day, and so people are loving that. It's a 45-minute get in, get out kind of thing. On Tuesdays, I coach a Foundations of Human Movement, where we get into like these concepts of like human development. You know, dating all the way back to your first breath. Right, and then expanding on that.
I'll pause you there. I have done some stuff with you on that, and I loved it. I think it's awesome. I think anyone who's interested in that, like anyone who's ever been interested in movement training, if you were like some Ido Portal, you'd watched him online or something, come to Jason, like and you're gonna get the actual instruction in person. Ido Portal, and I'm not trying to disparage anyone watching his videos or something like that. That dude's a beast.
He's an animal, dude.
He's a good friend of Rob Wolf. Rob Wolf has told me some interesting stories about him, but his programs are great. But I remember watching like his beginner handstand routine, which is that's got to be a joke on his end. His beginner handstand routine is like the hardest routine I've ever seen. It's like so you're just there is no progression into the handstand. You're just starting in the handstand. He's like, and now bend your legs down this way, and it's like, what am I watching here? Like, and I've seen other things where he had a clear progression that made more sense and was like way more beginner friendly. But I think for like movement coaching, I would absolutely want to go in person on something like that and not online. I've done a little bit of stuff like that online, and
I'll say this, man. In his defense, and I don't know him personally. A couple years back, we went to a workshop where we got the chance to train with 2 of his trainers, Johnny Sapinoso, I think is how you say his name, and a man named Zach. And I'm sorry, but I forgot his last name. I think he owns a gym up in Oregon, maybe. But anyways, if you go on YouTube and type in this like Ido Portal beginner handstand thing, or beginner like the 5 or 7 beginner movements, and you see what's going on, it's like, oh wow. But understand that like all of this is, the way I understand it, is all of this is like on a spectrum, right? And it's almost like, here's where we're gonna put the marker for a beginner, right? But really you started back here.
I see.
And now once you've reached this point,
now
you're a beginner right here.
That makes
right?
sense.
And then once you can do these 5 or 7 or whatever the number, they have like X amount of movements or poses, whatever, handstand, straddle press, all that stuff. Once you reach that position, it's like, okay, now it's almost like a black belt. You ever you seen like, you've heard thousands of stories of like the guy that gets promoted to black belt. He's like, okay, cool, now the journey starts. Right. It's one of those kind of things, and I believe that's kind of where they're going with that. The reason why there's no progressions in those videos that you find is like, how great is that marketing?
I know what you mean.
You want those progressions? Sure, sign up for our online training.
Brilliant. I hadn't really thought about that way. Brilliant.
And I will say, like, and I'm not speaking from experience, I'm speaking like through other coaches that I know that have gone through their online training. I don't believe, and if there is, it's very, very small. I don't believe anyone else is out there doing it from a distance the way those guys are.
I see.
And they are incredibly, like, it's one of these like resubmit. You're a professor. Right?
Right.
You know the deal. Nope. Red mark the paper. Resubmit. It's like you're gonna resubmit the same video series like 100 times, before. And now your resubmit, from what I understand, comes with work on this, and this to get that. Work on this, and this to get that.
Brilliant.
Right? These guys are on it, dude. Like, this man has traveled the entire globe for his entire life. You know, learning from the best coaches on the planet, and he's managed to like wrap all this up and create his own little practice. I don't know that there's anyone else out there that's on that level, man. Like,
Sure.
I mean, just watch how him and his coaches move.
No, it's incredible.
That's the most incredible thing, bro. So, but yeah, like, and I draw a lot of inspiration from those guys. Obviously, you can hear how I talk about them. But more importantly, my biggest inspiration is one of my dear friends, one of my best friends, like a brother and mentor, Andre Miller.
Okay.
Andre Miller created the Roots model, and what I have learned through the Roots model is that no matter the system, every system has its holes, right? CrossFit, it's got plenty of holes in it. Bodybuilding, plenty of holes in it, right? Powerlifting, Olympic, like all these systems have holes in them, right? Do you want the plug for the hole? Of course I do. Is the plug for the hole going to make me better at the thing that I'm doing? Yes, I want the plug for the hole. Well, I'll tell you what the plug for the hole is. The Roots model. The Roots model is the plug for all of these systems.
Interesting.
Right? And it's a very, very simple concept. It's all based on human development. So if I'm not good at running and I regress myself back to crawling and I see, oh, well, there's a hiccup in your crawling pattern, right? So it's like a shortstop in baseball, like playing ground balls and never touching the ball, right? We used to set these balls in baseball practice for like 5 yards out in front of us. We'd have to run up, put the glove on the ground, hand up. You do this 1,000 times, and all you want to do is pick the ball up and make a play, right? Or throw the ball with your buddies. And Coach Patek, man, my freshman year in high school, this guy, he's a superintendent down there now, if I understand that right. Dude, he used to make us do these fundamental drills, and it's just like, Coach, we just want to play ball. But you know, dude, the best in the world, dude, they're good at the fundamentals.
Yeah, you're good at the fundamentals, yeah.
So if you look at this real quick, if you look at the Roots model, it's this beautiful tree, right? Here's my branches, the trunk, and then the roots. At the very base of those roots is your breath. So when people come to me and they see me doing handstands and elbow levers and all these things, oh man, I'm intimidated. I can never do this thing. Bro, I can regress your movement back to your breath. So like, there's no reason to be intimidated, right? And just real quickly, I'm gonna work my way up the tree, right? Breath. This is the first thing you did. Excuse me. When you were pulled out of your mother's womb, the doctor smacks you on the butt and you took your first breath. Boom, breath. You felt gravity for the first time. So let's talk about breath, lying down, reaching and grasping, rolling, crawling. You keep going up the tree, running, sprinting, jumping, climbing, swimming, right? Keep going up the tree, and what do we have on the ends? All of our circus tricks, right? The one-arm handstand, the elbow lever, the laches, the backflips, the parkour, the high-level parkour, right? Most humans really have no reason, real logical reason to be out there, in my opinion.
Sure.
Like, how's a one-arm handstand going to make my life better, right?
Right.
Most of us are better served, like right here in the trunk area, right? But that's not to say that's not maybe a good goal or a cool goal to try to achieve, right? Because there is some learning there too. Like, if you learn how to do a one-arm handstand, you obviously understand alignment. Well, if I understand alignment, and I understand how my body operates on this imaginary axis, right? Like I said earlier when Kayla was here, about, I lost my train of thought. But this idea that if I understand alignment, the mind-body thing, right? Like, if I understand alignment in my body, I have a greater movement complexity. I have to be more mobile. Bad shoulder mobility, you might not even get a handstand, right? And there's something about this. Does a handstand require a lot of strength? Well, if you take a beginner, someone who's never done a handstand, I got a gym full of people right now that can't do handstands, right? You turn them upside down and you can see the effort in their face.
Right.
Why is it so hard for you? Oh, well, this requires strength. Oh, does it? Because I've seen 5-year-olds do planches. You know, a planche is like a push-up position with your feet off the ground. And it's like, you're definitely stronger than the 5-year-old.
Right.
But he can do a planche and you can't. maybe inherently he understands alignment better than you.
Mm.
He's also more mobile than you because he hasn't had a lifetime of
Right. Sitting at the desk, all
right
90-degree
this
back
whole
and-
thoracic
yeah.
flexion, like you're just you know,
Mm.
and so it requires a more mobile body. And what I tell people is, it's like once you become more mobile, and then look, we can argue did the chicken come before the egg, whatever. Put that to the side. But if I can create a more mobile body,
Mm.
then your whole workout schematic is going to change drastically,
Sure,
right?
Sure.
Because now the sets and reps don't really matter anymore,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
You're not going to waste time doing bicep curls in the mirror anymore. These
Mm.
kind of vanity-like exercises.
Mm.
You don't have time for that,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So instead of like, oh, I'm going to go do my 3 sets of 10, now instead of that, I'm going to go practice,
Mm. Right.
right? You didn't do 3 sets of 10 when you learned how to ride a bike.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You got on, you fell off, you skinned your knee, your elbow, you did it 1,000 times, but you never stopped because you saw your butt. You knew. I told somebody this today. You knew. I was gymming Annette. I told them earlier. You knew that when you finally got on that bike, it was going to be the most amazing experience of your life. And if you can think back, you remember that feeling you had when you felt the wind blowing across your face. And you were like, oh my God, this is great. I finally did it. It's the same thing. You're never going to accomplish anything if you're going through life 3 sets of 10, 4 sets of 5. Now, at the same time, I don't want to disrespect the power lifter, the Olympic lifter, the bodybuilder, the person that has very specific goals that require that type of thinking, right? So let me say that. But 95% of the population is not in one of those categories.
Right.
They just want to lose weight, get healthy, be mobile.
Sure.
Okay, so find something that you can practice, right? That 3 sets of 10 thing, I've been doing this for 15 years. The 3 sets of 10 thing is done nothing but set us up for failure. And I know I'm going to probably like step on some toes when I say this, but it's the same thing in the kitchen. Why people fail so much when they're measuring their food, counting their calories, counting their macros, like all of this thing, I gotta do this, that's just, dude, you got a 9 to 5 that stresses you out to no end. You got 3 or 4 kids that you're raising, and you still think that that's gonna lead you to this like world of health. Maybe it can be a means to an end, but at some point you gotta throw that away.
Sure.
Right? If you don't know what 1,500, 2,000 calories truly feels like, then maybe you need to count your calories, but my God, don't do that forever.
Right, I know what you mean.
This is very, very new to the human species. We've been walking around for thousands of years, and now you're telling me I need to measure my food? Now you're telling me I need to do 3 sets of 10? No. We need to back up a little bit, right? And maybe we back up by way of those things.
Sure.
I know this sounds paradox,
Sure.
but again, use them to lose them.
I can give you an example. I can give you 2 things off of that. One, like when I teach jiu-jitsu, everything you're saying pretty much lines up perfectly for me when I'm teaching jiu-jitsu. And that is, and I say it to people all the time, and again, stepping on toes a little bit for the power lifters and everything. When I have when my class schedule's not so packed, because right now I teach quite a bit of classes because we're just getting this baby rolling and everything. I would like to actually, honestly, throw a few 3 sets of 10 in there or something here and there, like, although I'm actually more interested in your take on strength and conditioning and stuff like that, and we can talk about that later when my schedule's a little more open, but, because I am more interested in mobile strength than I am in just, like, isolated strength and stuff like that. There's a value to all that, but, to me, what's great about jiu-jitsu is like, it's exactly those same kinds of metaphors. It's just like, you're just working on the arm bar. You're not working on the vanity of it or how does it look to somebody outside. You're just trying to do something. And I love teaching jiu-jitsu because, and I tell people this all the time when they're like, because I'll show a move and almost the most typical gut response from a lot of students, I can't do that. And it's like, well, but I know you can't do that. That's why I showed it to you. Yeah. I showed it to you because I know you can't do that presently. But by the end of the class, you'll be able to do that. And it often looks to people, because the movements are novel, they're like, my body doesn't move that way. And see, it's like, again, I know your body's never moved that way. but I'm going to make it move that way. I'm going to show you the way to make your body move that way. And by the time they get through it, it's awesome. It's just such a feeling of accomplishment. It's like, okay, you could tap this person from this position. A bigger, stronger person is going to have to tap to the way that you reconfigured your body. It's just a reconfiguration of your body at the end of the day. And what I believe is that I'm not really teaching people self-defense. I mean, I am. Okay, you will learn self-defense.
Right.
But I feel that that's a low percentage activity. Like the extent to which you're going to be attacked, unless you're a woman.
Right.
And I'm pretty straightforward when I'm teaching women. It's like, say, guys, you probably never need this. Girls, statistically, there's actually a pretty high chance that you will need this at some point, or at least you'll want the confidence to scare somebody off, which is really huge. Like just having that bearing. But yeah, just when you accomplish that reconfiguration of your body, which results in the defeat of another person, there's just that canness that kind of gets in your head, like I can do this thing. I don't want to be. It's not a political thing. Like yes, we can, but but that was brilliant as a political kind of ruse too, or whatever. How legitimate it was or illegitimate, I don't know. But just instilling that sense that you can do something is so powerful, and I feel like it's the same for learning a handstand or any number of those things. Just once you've achieved that, to me, that is like. Now I can start that business that I, you know what I mean? Like I can do this other project that I, was not doing, instead of just having that mentality of like sitting back and letting the world entertain you. It's like, I mean, there's a perspective on that, but it's just like, if it's only about Netflix in your life and getting back that next Netflix schedule, like I like Netflix and Prime and all those things or whatever, but it's like, there's a staleness that's going to come if that's all you've got. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be activity in your life. There's a period for activity and creation. There's a period for just sitting back and watching a good TV show or something like that too. And I feel like most, and it's not just Americans, just anywhere in the world, most people's problem is not that Netflix doesn't have any good shows anymore. Netflix probably got tons of amazing products that people work super hard and they're probably great in their own right. You don't do enough creation on your end to appreciate what you're watching at that point. Like, because you're just like, give me more. You're just getting into that stale mindset of just consumption. But sorry, there was one more thing I wanted to throw in there. I'm not trying to get too far off. What was it? So there's that Kan-jitsu perspective of just like, that's what I feel I really teach, is the canness of things, and that you can actually do things. But
that just real quick,
please.
Maybe that thought will come back to you, but I was talking to Jim and Ned earlier at my house, and
Jimmy White, with What's Up Sheffy, and
amazing people. I just love them to death. I was telling them it's like us having faith in ourselves.
Sure.
Right. You when you start checking the boxes of the things you can do, right? It's like, yesterday I couldn't do a handstand, but today I can, right? Like you said the business example. Like now it brings about a confidence, right? That you didn't have before, and most people might not even realize it. That it was like, if you really look back, jiu-jitsu is the thing that changed your life.
Oh, totally.
Or that handstand you learned really is the thing that changed your life. Like you turned upside down, you got another perspective of the world. Right? Or the thing I said earlier, look at the world around you, dive in, keep your eyes open. Oh, there's two worlds there, right? Another perspective. And so when that level of confidence, I guess a lot of people don't understand like how it translates everywhere else.
Sure.
And it really does, because everywhere else is really right here, right? Like if you're thinking deep enough here, like if I'm confident here, why would I not be confident there?
Right.
Now I get it if it's a different skill set over here, but the beauty is that I've already went through the fire of learning this skill set. It can't be that much different.
Can't be, right?
Right? The fire is the fire. Like like David Goggins, who's going to carry the boats, right? Like,
right.
Like I mean, this is important for people to understand. And if this young man hears this, I hope he takes something from it. I speak to a young man, 22 years old, yesterday on the phone about personal training, and first thing out of his mouth, this is the first thing out of his mouth, said, hey man, talk to me about yourself. Like, because my thing is, when I talk to people during these consults, I want them to talk more than I talk, because I was an intelligence analyst, man. Like, it's in my blood. My dad was a criminal investigator too. Like, so, like, I'm trying to pull as much information as I can. So I just let people ramble. And this kid didn't seem like he wanted to ramble much, but that's okay because I kept prying. But the thing is, I said, tell me about yourself. Why are we here? What are we doing? Why are we on the phone right now? Kind of thing. And the young man says, well, I forgot how tall he said he was, but he said, I'm about 150 pounds. I've always kind of been the skinny guy. And the thing that hit me was, he said, I'm nothing special. And he was just carrying on with the conversation. I said, hold up, young man. Hold up. Long before we start working with each other, like, that has to go. I am nothing special. I said, my man, you can't be talking like that. I don't know who put that in your head. If you're listening to me right now, my man, I don't know who put that in your head, but you can leave that at the door.
Sure.
Right? Like, don't ever say that about yourself. I am nothing special. The heck you're not. Right? And the same thing I was talking to Jimmy and Ed about at the house earlier. You know, Jimmy's got a little bit of a bum shoulder and Ed's hip. And whether it's true at this moment or not, you tell yourself that you're healed. You start preaching that narrative to yourself immediately, right? Because, like I told him, I broke my toe a couple weeks ago in the river. And as soon as I kick that rock, my nervous system takes that stimulus, runs it up my leg, through my lumbar, up to my brain. And then immediately there's a response to that stimulus from the brain back down to the toe, right? So everything that's innervated by that nerve in between the stimulus spot and my motherboard, if you will, is going to be affected by that. Okay? So you see, I was telling these guys the same thing. You see these like elite level athletes that tear an ACL, and the doctor puts them back together, they go through rehab, and then you're good to go. But they're not. And that's all up here.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
But then there's the Adrian Petersons of the world. That's the example I used earlier, who, okay, we repaired you, you went through the rehab, you're probably not going to be the same. And then next year he's breaking records, right? This thing right here is incredibly powerful. Are you injured? Am I injured or am I not injured? And I think the first step to healing oneself is speaking that type of positivity, if you will, over yourself. Sure, we can get into the exercises for sure. But it's like, I'm at Himmin Island years ago with some buddies, and we're monkeying around, and we're leaving. I'm on the clock, so I gotta get moving. And this older gentleman says, "Hey guys, y'all are the yoga guys." We're not the yoga guys, but whatever. That's okay. I noticed y'all monkeying around down there. Y'all must know what y'all are talking about. Is there anything you can give me to help me stand up taller? And I said, yes, sir, there is. There is some things I can give you. Unfortunately, like, I'm running late and I gotta get moving. But I want to tell you this before I leave. If I never see you again, you need to take this advice. I can give you 1,000 exercises to have you stand up straight. And it's crazy because Jimmy literally, it was like the same words. He said the same thing to me earlier at my house, and it's exactly what I told that old fella. I said, I'll give you 1,000 exercises to help your posture and help you stand up taller. But if you're not ready to stand up taller, you're not going to. So I'm asking you now, like, if you really want to stand up taller, the best advice I can give you is stand up taller. Right? And so, you know, like, I think when it comes to, I'm kind of straying off here, but when it comes to strength, health, mobility, like, all of these things, it all starts right here.
Right in the head,
It all does, man. Like, what you tell yourself you are.
Sure.
And so it's super important for this young man to understand what I was trying to tell him, and he kind of glossed it over, and that's fine. But I'm hoping at least the seed was planted. Like, do not speak that over yourself, dude.
You know, what you're saying, like, it strikes a chord with me because I was a professor over in Korea for a long time, taught at grad school, was teaching a lot of, I don't know if people say this anymore, but type A, you know, ladies mostly, is like 90% girls. I was teaching grad school, and they were in this interpretation translation program, super selective, hard to get in. When I first started working there, it was like 1,000 applicants, and we let in like 100 or something.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was super selective. That actually, the industry has died off a lot, and so I think we're at like 300 or 400 applicants by the time I left. And you know, just so many of them, despite getting in against those odds and all that kind of stuff, still, like, I taught public speaking predominantly, and it was like, the way to be a good public speaker is basically, you gotta believe in yourself. At the end of the day, it's like, and your enthusiasm and your sense of like confidence is basically, it's the speed limit on what other people can feel about what you've said. So, you know, I can teach them all the mechanics of public speaking, but predominantly that's it. Like, if you come out and you can be not that well organized, you can be not that clear, you might even mumble a little bit here and there or something, but like, and maybe you don't have a great topic, but like, if you're out there and you're like throwing out that vibe that like you believe in this is important to you and everything, you can actually, like, you know, persuade people. Give me 1 second to check. Sometimes when my phone clicks like that, that means it interrupts. No, still going. Good. Okay.
That brings this thought.
Yeah.
You just brought this memory. So I was in the intelligence community when I was in the military. So at a very young age, I wasn't standing in front of my college peers telling people, you know, a book report.
Sure.
Right.
Give me 1 second there. Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Someone just popped in my door. I need to. Oh, hey, we're still talking in here. So I'll close the door.
So yeah, I wasn't standing in front of my peers giving speeches. I was standing in front of 2-star Marine Corps generals, 2-star admirals in the Navy, Special Forces units, you know, 40 or 50 Marines that were, you know, about to go do their thing. And I learned something incredible throughout that short stint that I spent in the military. And maybe some of it was ego driven. You learn lessons in weird places. For me personally, like, even to this day, which I think I've let go of a lot of it, but I never wanted to be embarrassed, right? When I was younger, I was worried about what people thought of me. And now that I say that out loud, yeah, I still got a lot of that left. But because of that, my homework was always on point.
Sure.
Always on point, because I did not want to stand up in front of this highly decorated individual who's giving orders to a bunch of men that are quote unquote being led potentially to their own slaughter, right? And make a fool out of myself or give misinformation, right? They could harm one of those individuals, right? These people that I look up to so much. So my homework was always very on point, right? Double checking resources and this and that, whatever. And so I remember being on the USS Essex one time, and we were part of the ship's staff. Like, so we boarded when the Marines boarded, when the Spec Ops guys boarded, and when the Commodore, the big dog, got on the ship, like, we rolled with him. So we weren't part of the ship's staff, but the ship had their own intelligence crew. And it's I'll be nice on some of these guys. It's okay. These guys come to me one day. The E6 is kind of the guys that are in charge of the staff, basically, in charge of their junior sailors and stuff. And I wasn't even in the military. I mean, dude, I only spent 4 years in the military, you know. And when this guy approached me, I was in E5, something like that, and he was asking for my help. This is a senior person asking a junior person to help his junior personnel, and the question was like, how do you do this so well? Like, how do you stand up in front of these people, like, right? And this whole thing goes back to your deal about confidence. Number one, if you're the subject matter expert, then be the subject matter expert, right? no one else in the crowd has a clue at what you're even talking about.
Right.
That's number one. So, and if you've done your homework, then there's no reason not to be
Right.
confident.
Right.
This idea that I'm afraid of public speaking is, to me, it's a little bit of a farce, man. Like that's there's something deeper going on, because I don't know a single person on this planet that doesn't know how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And if I asked you to stand up in front of just you and I and tell me how to make a peanut butter sandwich, you could do it, and you should be able to do that very thing in front of 1,500 people.
Right. Right.
Because you know it so well. So this has nothing to
Right.
do with your disdain for wanting to talk to
Right.
people.
Right.
It has to do with you not doing your homework.
Mm.
Do your homework. Be the subject matter expert. Understand what you're talking about.
Mm.
And so when you get up there, like you're confident in how you're
Mm.
approaching this,
Mm.
right? Now you're going to get some questions from time to time that you might not have been prepared for.
Mm.
And the other thing I learned about, don't BS.
Mm.
Don't get up there and BS, especially when lives are on the line.
Right.
Don't BS anybody.
Mm.
If you don't know, say you don't know.
Yeah, it's okay to say you don't know.
And nobody's going to fault you for that. I can't tell you how many times a commander or a full-bird, colonel or a captain in the Navy asked me a question in front of 50 other people, and I looked at my notes, and mentally I wasn't prepared for that question. I look them dead in the face. Sir, I don't have that information, but I will get back to you on
Right.
that.
Right.
I will get back to you on that. And I always follow through. My old man told me, say what you mean what you say.
Mm.
Right? So, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the guy, you're the guy.
Mm-hmm.
No, you know your information,
Mm.
right? So you brought back that memory there for me, and of course I help these young cats, and but then there's just some people that they don't want to let go of whatever it is that's holding them back.
Well, I have some thoughts on that. What holds people back? It's kind of tricky, because like there's getting to that I can do it. You know what I mean? And there's something clearly in that, and teaching people up to that level. There's definitely that tricky thing where because we're feeling that, it's easy for us to say, just do it.
Oh,
Come
right.
on. You know what I mean? Like, and I have some people, it's like, well, yeah, you feel that, but I don't feel that, basically. A lot of times what I've helped people with is like, people don't realize that they're, don't realize the extent to which they're kind of judging others and inadvertently judging themselves.
Ooh, yeah, let's go.
So like, yeah, a lot of times your lack of confidence stems from like how unnecessarily critical you are of other people. You're like, and this is something we'll have to kind of close this up here in a little bit,
Yeah.
but just, to me, one of the limitations of, and it isn't, when I say Western education, I only mean that in the sense that like Western education at this point is the educational system. Having lived in the East for 15 years, it's the Western education system everywhere. Like they're not doing some other thing, and maybe they never were or whatever, but just the educational system in general, you've got a classification of critical thinking. Bloom's taxonomy, in my opinion, is still really solid for that. And where most people really stop short at is like analysis is as good as it gets for them.
Mm.
They're good at analysis. So people, even at like the graduate school level, almost like peak at analysis typically. And analysis is like finding fault. So like you're an adult and you're finding fault in everything that you see. And the extent to which you do that is also the extent to which you find it within yourself. You don't realize you're doing it, but that's what undermines your own confidence, because you're such a fault finder in everything. And the bottom line is, at the end of the day, is that finding errors and mistakes is easy. And there's this sense that when you're young, we kind of feed this notion, oh, did you see that problem, kid? Oh, I saw that problem. Great, kid. And it feeds your sense of like, oh, I'm clever. That's cleverness. But that's not really cleverness.
Right.
Like, everything has problems.
And you've heard this phrase, you go looking for trouble, you'll find it.
Yeah, you go looking for trouble, you find it. Like, everything has problems, errors, mistakes. The level above that is synthesis or creation, where you kind of have to accept that there are going to be errors, problems, and faults, and you're still trying to make the best of it and trying to move something forward. I think, speaking for the both of us, I guess, just in running like a business or something, it's just like, of course there are faults in our business and problems, stuff like that, but the show must go on. And I just feel like when I look back and I see other people, like, we were talking about people getting into overconsumption or whatever, and they're like, this show has faults. And it's like, of course it does. You know what I mean? Just like, go make something. And that's what I was talking about. It's like, if you're not making anything, all you see is faults, basically, because you have no compassion, you have no understanding for the process of creation, basically, because you're in the process of only consumption, you know, like, and turning yourself into more of a creator and a doer and an actor. You have to confront mistake, error, accept its existence, accept that, I don't know, with movement, probably there, I'm sure for you, like, people are gonna watch you, and I've watched you do movement stuff, and I'm like, that's amazing, you know, like, but I'm sure on your end, you're like, it is, but my elbow's not quite where I want it, or my thing is not, and like, they don't see that. The same with my jujitsu, like, sometimes I'll do something, and my students are like, whoa, but like, to me, I'm like, yeah, but my hips need to be actually higher, or I need to get on my side better, and like, just, I've accepted the imperfection. The imperfection doesn't stop me from moving forward, you know, like, and you have to get out and embrace and create and get into that place where you can accept loss, failure, mistake. Otherwise, you just eat yourself alive with the critique of the world becomes the critique of self.
Yeah.
Like, and
what is it? Paralysis by analysis.
Paralysis by analysis, yeah. Super common for everybody. Oh, it's like they have a thing they want to do, and then they think about how it could go wrong instead of just realizing, like, well, yeah, I mean, it is going to go wrong. There's going to be multiple things that go wrong. Expect it to, and you'll have to push through those hurdles. And you know, sometimes all you're going to do is duct tape it at the end of the day and move forward.
What about this? If I go looking for trouble, I'll find trouble. But the reciprocal of that is, if I go looking for success, or if I go looking for positivity, I'm going to find that.
You're going to find it. Yeah.
Right. So let's go half full instead of half empty.
Right. So you have perspective, and I mean, it's just tricky, but this is an awesome talk. We should probably close it up here. I think we're well over an hour and stuff. It's great having you on, Jason.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, we'll have to hang out some more and stuff. Talk a little bit about how can people find out more about your gym.
So sporthallnb.com, and Sport Hall is spelt in the German way. So obviously the word sport and then HALLE, nb.com. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook. Same thing with Trident, tridentstrength.com, Trident Strength on Instagram, and Facebook, and that's it really. You know, I mean, we're on Google. If you're in the area, just type it in, Sport Hall New Braunfels, Trident Strength New Braunfels, and
awesome,
simple,
awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
Yeah, let me turn these off here.